What's going on, everyone? Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are ready, because we got a very detailed and long part today for you. But before we get into that, we got to do the shout out for today. So it's going to be Flyer943. And also, you guys already know the drill. Check out this analytical stat bar right here. Drop a like, drop a comment, and turn on notifications. And don't forget to subscribe, so that way you'll never miss another upload from the channel. But with all that being said, let's get into What If Ash Won the PWC Season 2, Part 3. I hope you enjoy. We begin today's part with our heroes as they are en route to Farina at the behest of Dr. Lunt. The good doctor was kind enough to provide Ash and friends with a tracker that will be able to hone in on the seismic activity in the region that have any spikes in infinite energy with them. However, before they leave LaRue City, Ash decides it's time to change out some team members. But this is only a small change for our hero, only changing Noctowl and Incineroar out for Hawlucha and Donphan. Now with Ash's current ranking of 924, the group finds their sights of their next stop on the way to Farina coming into view, Mauville City. It feels like years since we were here last, Max comments, to which Ash mentions that it has been a few regions since then, so technically time has passed. The city itself shows it, as well as it's taken on more of a technological look, similar to LaRue City. However, the group doesn't have time to gawk, as they are just passing through on the way to their next destination, Verdanturf town. However, Go mentions they should stop at the Pokemon Center to get their Pokemon healed up so they may be ready for the next leg of their travels. Agreeing that this is a good idea, the group stops in as they are on their way. While waiting for their Pokemon to be finished, Go mentions to Ash that he's been climbing the ranks rather quickly in the World Coronation Tournament. It seems like it took him forever to jump into the Great Class. Yeah, but that flew by pretty quickly, considering that now that he's in the Great Class, the battles will be harder with stronger opponents. Not to mention that he has to make his way to 99th place before his next class change. So his journey is far from done, but he's not going to stop. He and his Pokemon want to be the best, so they will keep pushing until they get a chance to battle Leon. Go wants to say something else, but Max interrupts them to take a look at the TV. It's the finals of the Evergrande Championship. Rinto made it all the way to Steven Stone, the champion of the Hoenn region. It's the final match with Mega Gallade versus Mega Metagross. However, things are in the final moments as Gallade falls in the battle to Steven, and he retains his title as Hoenn champion. The group is in awe as Steven takes the time to thank Rinto for bringing out the toughest battle he's had in a while. But Steven wants to push himself even further, so this is his official announcement for his entry into the World Coronation event. This shocks both Ash and Max, but for different reasons. Ash because he's excited at the chance to face a trainer he never has before, while Max knows his climb just got that much harder. But this moment is interrupted by an old voice that is full of life. It's great that Steven is pushing himself. Ever since he took that championship from Wallace, he's been uncontested as Hoenn's champion. Turning, our heroes are met with a semi-familiar sight, the Mauville gym leader, Watson. Ash and Max greet the old man, asking how he's been. Watson replies that he's been good. What do they think of the changes that he's made to the city? Wait, this was all you, Max asks? Yeah, I was getting bored, so I decided to remodel the city a bit. This is where Go asks Ash who this guy is, to which he introduces his newest traveling companion. Watson is happy to meet Go, asking the boy if he's here for a gym battle. Go sheepishly declines, stating that he doesn't battle for competition. Well, what do you use Pokemon for? Watson asks, to which Go is left a little stumped. No one has asked him that before. Well, I don't really know, but ever since I met Ash, we've been on an adventure every day, and I know my goal is to catch Mew, while Ash is to compete in the World Coronation Tournament. Well, you may already be onto something there, the old man says, leaving Go to question what he means by that. But the attention is quickly changed to Ash as Watson seems excited by the prospect of him in the World Coronation event. So Ash, me and you are currently 1-1 in our battle records. How about we have a final battle to see who's the best in our series? As a Rotom ref hovers above, Ash's Rotom phone then pings, signaling that Watson has challenged him to a coordination battle. Ash turns to Max, asking if the Groudon tracker has any activity. The boy says no, causing Ash to smile. Okay, Watson, you're on. A short time later, Ash finds himself standing across from Watson in the Mauville gym. Their battle will be a 2-on-2, and both will be allowed substitutions. With the signal of the start from the Rotom ref, the battle begins as our two energetic combatants waste no time in choosing their Pokemon in sequence. Magnezone, go! Levani, I choose you! Both balls pop, revealing the first battlers of the match. Ash gets things started with an energy ball. However, Watson isn't worried with Magnezone's steel typing. However, he wants to set the pace of this battle, so he orders a light screen, reducing the damage even more. The old man then follows up with a flash cannon. However, Ash isn't one to just sit around as he orders Levani to counter it with the next scissor. While the moves are far from equal in power, Levani is able to avoid any major damage thanks to the delay, allowing it to get in close to Magnezone. It's here that Ash is able to finally connect with a move to potentially take control of this battle battle by ordering a string shot. The silk moves rapidly to encase the magnet in a cocoon, much to the surprise of Watson. This is where Ash takes advantage of the rules, recalling Leavanny for something that could hit a little harder, more physically. Halucha, I choose you! The wrestling bird emerges from the ball with the grace and poise while Magnezone struggles to break the string shot. Watson orders his Mon to use a tri-attack. The thought behind this is the elements that are included in the attack would be enough to break the hold the string shot has on the steel type. While this has the effect that Watson wanted for the most part, it wasn't enough to break the total hold, but that changes when Ash gives his next command in a flying press. The move, while super effective and able to drive Magnezone into the ground, is the force needed to break the last of the holes that the silk has on the magnet. This allows Watson to recall it before any major damage. The old man is smart, as another attack could have ended Magnezone. It is here that Go wonders what the next choice of the leader will be, but Max tells him that it's one Ash lost to in their last battle, as the command is given for Magnetric to enter battle. Max states that he had to face it when he challenged Watson, and he nearly lost, if it wasn't for a stroke of luck in his favor. Max goes on to explain as Watson reveals how they have grown since their last battle, as the old man reveals and activates a keystone triggering Magnetric's Mega Evolution. The living Thunderbolt lets out a very intimidating battle cry as infinite energy dissipates, revealing a whole new form. Ash smiles, knowing that Halucha is feeling the same excitement he is. The moment is now, as both give a command. For Ash, it's a throat chop, while Watson is an electric terrain. This move increases the speed of Magnetric, allowing it to dodge Halucha. This creates an opening that it takes advantage of, with Watson calling for a wild charge. The supercharged tackle connects, causing great damage to Halucha due to its flying type. This sends it back into the wall that has Ash questioning if it's still able to battle. The dust begins to settle, revealing that it is still standing, but has taken on a paralysis. Ash decides to recall the bird for now. Watson laughs vigorously, happy that he's been able to keep up with Ash and his growth since their last encounter. Well, Ash, it seems you're in a tough spot. It's a shame that you don't have a Mega Evolution. This battle wouldn't be so one-sided. However, Ash just smiles back. Just because we are down doesn't mean we are out. Leavanny, I choose you. The Unovan Mantis takes back to the field, ready to engage its opponent as Ash calls for an energy ball. However, the electric terrain is still in play, and Magnetric's speed is off the charts, dodging the move and connecting with a super effective Ice Fang. This is enough to cause great damage. Leavanny was barely able to hold on and counter with the real move that Ash wanted it to hit, String Shot, binding the legs of Magnetric. Watson commends Ash on getting them to come close. However, this doesn't mean that Leavanny has the power to compete with his Mega Magnetric. But the gym leader learns that he spoke too soon, as Leavanny is glowing in a verdant light. Smiling, Ash knew he needed to slow them down and increase Leavanny's power. Thanks to Watson, that's exactly what they did. Now use X-Scissor. Leavanny fires the move that is now enhanced with its life energy at Magnetric that is unable to avoid the attack due to the string shot. A cry of pain is let out as this is unguarded. However, this isn't enough to end the electric Mega, and it's now free to attack, and Watson holds nothing back, calling for another Ice Fang. Knowing there's only one option, Ash tells Leavanny to wait. Just as the frozen fangs clamp down on it, Ash calls for another string shot. Using what energy it has left, Leavanny binds Magnetric once more with the silk as the bug falls to the fangs of its opponent. Ash recalls Leavanny, thanking it for the tenacity that it had shown today. With only one Pokemon left, Ash wastes no time in making the call. Halucha, I choose you. Though it is paralyzed, the fighting type still sticks its signature landing, showing that it isn't afraid of Magnetric. With the start of the next battle, Watson struggles to find a way to free Magnetric, as at this point, the electric terrain has faded, and Halucha is able to connect with the poison jab for a good chunk of damage. Seeing there's only one way to connect with anything, Watson calls for Magnetric's only long-range attack in Discharge. The electricity tears across, looking for its target. However, Ash isn't going to sit idly by. Ash sees a way through this, but their timing has to be perfect. He tells Halucha to charge a next scissor and not to fire, but hold it until his command. Trusting its trainer, the fighting type does so. The electricity rapidly strikes across the battlefield, closing in on its target. This is when Ash tells Halucha to fire the bug move into the ground in front of it as it jumps back. It's here that Ash's plan is revealed when the X-Scissor acts as a conductor, drawing in the discharge, preventing any damage to his Mon. Realizing they need to move, Watson orders an Ice Fang to break the string shot. However, Halucha is on the prowl as it leaps in with the poison jab that connects just as Magnetric gets free. The two stare at each other down for a moment as Halucha flinches in paralysis, only for the Mega Evolution to fade as Magnetric falls in defeat. Watson recalls his ace, commending Ash on the guts of his Halucha, but there's one final opponent blocking their path as the old man sends back in Magnezone. Both trainers look at their Pokemon and realize they have only one or maybe two moves left at most in them. Watson wastes no time calling for a discharge. However, Ash uses uses the same move as before with the X-Scissor to conduct the attack, but as Hawlucha steps back, paralysis sets in again and Watson sees his opening, telling Magnezone to use Flash Cannon. Firing the beam of metal energy, Ash is left with only one choice. He tells Hawlucha to take the move head on with a Flying Press. The fighting type stiffens its body and jumps into the attack instead above it. This causes it to push through the energy and connect with Magnezone as they both tumble into the gym wall. For a moment, silence befalls the gym until Hawlucha struggles off of its opponent, revealing that Magnezone has spirals in its eyes. The battle is declared over with Ash as the winner. Rushing out, Ash helps Hawlucha stand as his ranking is given. With Watson being at 850 at the start of the battle, Ash has now climbed the ranks to jump to 898, while Watson has fallen to 909. While Watson is upset that he lost, he is happy he got a chance to settle things with Ash, telling the boy to keep climbing the world ladder. He knows Ash will make it to the Master Class eventually. Smiling, the boy tells the leader he plans to, as we fade back to the Pokemon Center. Max, Go, and Ash are all talking about the events of the day. The battle has Max excited for his next big adventure. Being with Ash has reinvigorated his passion for traveling, and he plans to take on another region while battling through the coordination classes. Max will catch up to Ash one day. Go comments that Max still has a lot of work to do with his ranking being so low, to which everyone just laughs as the night fades on. The next morning, the trio sets out for Verdanturf Town. This will take a few days, so to pass the time, the group has some practice battles, revealing that Max has a Slacking, Breloom, and a few others like Graveler, Curlia, Ninetales, and a Cast Form. The battles end up being great, as Go gets a chance to use his new Sobble and Raboot. While the water type has fun battling, the fire starter is a different story, as it ignores Go and just chooses to sit off to the side while out of its ball. Max asks what this is all about, to which Go responds that he's not sure. Since it evolved, Raboot has had an attitude. He hopes that it won't be a permanent thing. Max can understand that, as his Slacking didn't listen to him when it first became a Vigoroth. It was so high-strung that it wouldn't listen, only focusing on what it found interesting, but in the end, they were able to see eye to eye and have been the strongest team ever since. Go thinks silently about what Max says, as we fade to the day they reach Verdanturf. Ash and Max are excited to get back into the small town. They have some great memories here, and the two share a bit of a walk down memory lane as Go and Pikachu question if they are okay. This snaps them back, to which Max replies that they are. They just needed a moment. Ash recommends that they go to the Pokemon Center to get everyone looked at, as he also wants to change out a couple of his Pokemon. As the group walks there, Max asks Ash if Verdanturf is the home of one of those people that he battled in the Hoenn League. However, our hero is drawing a blank. That was so long ago. Are you sure you're not talking about Tyson? Ash responds. No, that's not it. He was that bumbling one who had a stubborn streak to rival yours. What was his name? It's here a voice bellows in a nasally sound, saying that he's offended they forgot Ash's greatest rival in all of Hoenn. That voice, Ash and Max ask collectively. There in the doorway of the center stands a person that Max was referring to which the boy addresses him as Thompson. This angers the redhead, declaring his name is Morrison, and Max better not get it wrong again. A bit defensive, Max apologizes, stating that he wouldn't make that mistake again. Then Morrison begins to argue with Ash, stating that it's an insult that our hero forgot his greatest rival. Ash reassures him that's not the case. It's just been a long time since they've seen each other. Ash has had a lot of battles since then, so Morrison can't blame him for having trouble recalling it right away. This causes the redhead to get a little upset and offended that he wouldn't be seared into Ash's memory. The greatest match that was ever fought in Evergrande City. But didn't you refuse to battle in that match because you didn't want to face Ash? Max asks. This angers Morrison, to which Ash tries to calm him down. At this point, Go is just watching, confused. He thought all of Ash's former rivals and friends were powerful trainers, not this. But his thoughts are interrupted when Morrison tells Ash there's only one way he will forgive all of this slander that he has been put through. Now he's using big words, Max mutters to himself, which gets Morrison to shoot him a death glare before pointing to Ash and declaring that they will have to have a coordination battle. While Ash still doesn't understand why Morrison is acting like this, he's always up for a battle, accepting it right here in front of the Pokemon Center. In this moment, both phones beep as a Rotom ref hovers above. This will be a 2-on-2 battle, and both trainers will be allowed substitutions. The battle will be over when one side's team is unable to continue. Morrison is a bit startled that this is happening so fast, causing him to bumble a ball around in his hands for a moment. Are you okay? Ash questions, to which the redhead merely laughs it off, stating that he should be asking Ash that, as he seems to be shaking in his booties over there. Our hero doesn't know how to respond to that, so he just tells Morrison to have a great battle. He can't wait to see how much he's improved. On the sideline, Go asks Max about this guy, to which he explains everything that he can remember about Morrison. He's just as stubborn as Ash, but from what he can remember, they have a very similar battle style. That was until Ash battled a person named Brandon. Everything Ash is today was because of the Pyramid King. Brandon, Morrison. Now why have I heard that name before, Go thinks to himself as we shift back to the battle, which reveals the first choices of the battle have been made. For Ash, it's his trusty normal type Tauros, while Morrison has chosen the much more defensive option in his Metagross. This is where we see the remnants of the battle style similarities when they both order a Zen Headbutt. Colliding, Tauros shows that it's just as strong as ever, being able to force Metagross to dig in, lest it be taken over by the power of the bovine. Smiling, Ash comments on the strength of the steel type, to which Morrison just brushes it off, saying he knows, after all, he raised it. Not understanding the attitude from Morrison, Ash calls him out on it, asking why the redhead is acting like he's better than everyone. However, Morrison just ignores this, calling for a meteor mash. Since Morrison won't talk with words, Ash chooses to get through to him with attacks, telling his bull to counter it with a smart strike. Charging in, Ash tells his mon to hold steady. As the meteor mash comes in to connect, Ash yells for Tauros to drive its front hooves into the ground, bringing the bovine to a sudden stop. This causes Metagross's attack to miss, opening the door for Ash's true assault as Morrison and the steel type watch as they are bested by a normal type when Ash calls for a stomping tantrum. Tauros begins to wail about as it thrashes and slams its feet into the ground. The quaking and shaking of the earth beneath Metagross grows as the energy builds until the very earth beneath it cracks and pulls the four-limbed mon in. Then an eruption of smoke and dust comes from the fissure. Once everything is settled, the results are clear. Ash is the winner of the first battle as Metagross lay in a pile of rubble with spirals in its eyes. Recalling the scrap metal that is his Pokemon, Morrison stays quiet, not really showing any emotion on the situation. So, are you ready to talk? To which the boy only responds saying Ash will remember this battle unlike the last one. Swampert, go! The muscle-bound Mudfish emerges to the field ready to battle Ash and secure Morrison's first victory. Ash is a little upset that Morrison won't talk to him. That last battle was sloppy and unlike him. Our hero can see that something is bothering him, but the only way to get through to him is to battle. With the start of the second battle, Ash is determined to get through to him, so he gives the order for another smart strike. Stampeding down the battlefield, Tauros locks its sight on Swampert. However, Morrison isn't going to let the same thing happen as it did with Metagross. The redhead orders his starter to remain still. Let it come to them. The duo doesn't have to wait long, as the bull is quickly in the personal space of the water type, looking to bury its horns into the gut of Swampert. However, Morrison tells Swampert to take the bull by the horns and lift it. Using its superior upper body strength, we see the side of beef lifted from the ground with one hand by Swampert. The mudfish holds its prey above its head with one hand, while Tauros flails about trying to free itself. At Ash's command, Tauros tries its best attack in Giga Impact, but with no traction, the attack quickly fizzles, allowing Swampert to counter with a hammer arm that it drives into the head of the bull. The impact knocks it loose from the grasp of the blue meanie as it slams into the ground. While the impact isn't enough to put it down, Tauros' health has been drastically reduced. Realizing this will be their final exchange, Ash decides to go big once again, calling for a Giga Impact. Tauros throws what energy it has left into one last attack as it charges down the battlefield. Morrison is feeling confident. They have this one locked up, calling for a bulldoze to counter. The two meet in a tackle as their trainers watch the two Pokemon struggle to get the win. While damage is exchanged on both sides, Tauros has taken too much and isn't able to keep up its charge, falling to Swampert and bringing this battle to an end. Recalling his bull, Ash looks Morrison in the eyes. While this isn't the way he thought it would go, he knows that this is the right track, and the only way is to keep going with power. Donphan, I choose you! As the ball cracks, the ground type hits the battlefield with a thud, triggering a question from Go to why Ash would deliberately put himself at a disadvantage. While Ash has never really cared about typing, he isn't a dumb trainer, Max says. No, there's another reason why he would do this, so let's just watch and see what he has planned. Cause there's one thing for sure, it's going to be a great show. Max isn't wrong, as the first commands are given with a heavy slam and an ice punch. However, the difference in weight plays a factor here, as Donphan, though physically smaller than its opponent, is much heavier, and with the typing of the attack, the Pachyderm is able to overpower Swampert and crash into its gut, in the same spot Tauros had hit it only moments earlier. Swampert doubles over from the pain of the encounter, causing Morrison to show concern. This prompts Ash to ask if the water type is alright, to which Morrison tells Ash to stay out of this. He didn't care about it before, so then why would he now? This causes Ash to get quiet at the outburst as Morrison continues. I heard the conversation you guys were having when you walked up. Mass asked you who I was, and you couldn't even remember my name. I was excited to see you until that moment. The rival that I had so much respect for after all this time was right in front of me, and yet you don't even care enough to remember my name? I see how it is. Back then, I was a joke of a trainer. I couldn't even come close to you or any of the others in the Evergrande Conference. I knew that, and if you would have used the Pokemon you caught in other regions at that time, time, then I'm sure you could have won the whole tournament. But instead, you chose just to use the Pokemon you caught on Hoenn. Well, that's a great way to challenge yourself. The truth is, it made all the rest of us look like a joke. Even me, considering I spent half the battle feeling sorry for myself. But I'm not that scared weakling anymore. Me and my Pokemon have changed. And if you have trouble remembering that last battle we had, then I'll make sure you remember this one by beating you in a coronation battle. Ash is unsure what to say to Vincent. It's true what the boy claims, but the reason he couldn't remember him right away is because Tyson was fresh on his mind, and they had just battled. But Morrison wouldn't believe that, so Ash decides the only way to get through to him is to battle him like they did before. So instead, Ash tells Swampert to get up. His trainer has something to prove, and it on the ground like that won't prove anything. Morrison and Swampert both look at Ash and then to each other. Why would he be rooting them on? It's a puzzle to the two, but Morrison isn't going to let Ash be the one to order his Pokemon around, so he orders a Whirlpool from Swampert. Suddenly, a swirl of water begins to engulf Donphan. The ground type is consumed by the vortex, crying from the pain of the attack. Ash hears it and tells Donphan to stay calm. Use Rock Polish. This command has everyone baffled as the ground type endures the pain to use the move. There's no point in increasing your speed, Ash. This is over. Now Swampert, use Ice Punch and freeze the water. Charging its fist, the water type smashes into the vortex, causing the water to slow and start to freeze. Smiling, Ash thought that Morrison might try that, so that is exactly what they needed. Donphan, use Rollout. With its new increased speed, the Fant is able to use the forming ice as a path out of the water, allowing it to break through and smash Swampert in the gut once more. However, this isn't over, as Donphan is coming back for a second pass. Knowing they need to defend, Morrison calls for a Hammer Arm. However, Swampert is too slow from the speed drop it took battling Tauros, making Donphan faster as it is able to outpace the arm and connect with another rollout in the midsection of the water type once again, this time dropping it for good. The battle is called with Morrison dropping to his knees. He's hunched over with tears in his eyes, disappointment plastered across his face. The boy wanted nothing more to be equals with Ash, but it seems the gap has grown even more since their last battle. Morrison is sobbing at his own frustrations and failure. However, this is interrupted by Ash, who is holding out his hand. Morrison, that was a great battle. You've gotten stronger. At first, the redhead tells Ash not to patronize him, but Ash reaffirms this statement, telling him that he could have won that one if his head was on clearly. So why were you battling like that? The boy explains that he's been on a quest for a Megastone for some time now to get stronger. He figured that it was the only way to compete with Ash after he caught that awesome Mega Pokemon at the Lumiose conference. Wait, you mean Greninja? Morrison explains that he saw the power that Ash had gotten through the hard work that he had put in, so it inspired him to get stronger by trying to find his own Megastone. He really wanted to have it by the time they battled again, but since he doesn't have one, he wouldn't even use that super strong Mega in a battle against him. Beginning to understand Morrison's reasons, and the fact that he thought Ash didn't remember him, our hero explains his side and how he just battled Tyson last week, so he thought that's who Max was talking about. As for Greninja, I don't have it anymore. It's off on a special mission that was way too important for it to continue to travel with me. So I did what was best for everyone, and I released it. With Ash being able to explain himself, everything begins to calm down. He and Morrison make up, and it's like they were never at odds to begin with, much to the confusion of Go and the annoyance of Max. So with that mess behind him, Morrison tells Ash that he's gotta go. There was a lead on a Megastone discovered on Dewford Island, and he wants to get there before someone else does. Wait, before you go, Ash asks. Promise we'll battle again. You know it, the redhead responds as he runs off into the forest south of the town. This is where Ash takes a look at his phone, and to find out with his win over Morrison, his new rank is 869. The boy is very happy with this, turning to his friends and saying they need to stop by the Pokemon Center for the night, as it's getting a little late. They all agree, but Go has a question for Ash. So, that Pokemon Morrison spoke of, it could Mega Evolve? Ash says he'll tell him and Max the whole story, but only after they get some food. The next morning, after a good night's rest, Ash does the one thing before they head out on the last leg of their journey. He makes a call to Professor Oak to change out some of his Pokemon. Keeping both Pikachu and Hunter, Ash exchanges everyone else for Palpitoad, Gliscor, Boldore, and Talonflame. Upon the completion of the transfer, Ash lets everyone out of their balls to greet each member of his new team. Ash explains it's great to see them all again, and he hopes that they're ready for some new adventures. They all let out cries of excitement. As for each of them, it's been a long time since they've last left Oak's lab. It's at this point Ash introduces his Pokemon to Go and Max. They're all glad to meet everyone, and they all get acquainted before they have to head out. However, there is something that Max has on his mind. He sees Ash has a Boldore and asks his friend if there's something that he can help him with. Ash responds he will do anything that he can. Max informs Ash that it'll involve Boldore, to which our hero calls over the rock type. Max then releases one of his Pokemon, Graveler, to which the two rock types hit it off immediately. So what did you need help with, Ash questions. Max goes on to explain that he and Graveler have been trying to get it to evolve for a while now. However, there's a problem. They only evolve by one of two ways. The first is under extremely high stress situations that are usually life or death, which really only happens if they're in the wild. Oh, and what's the other, Ash asks. The second way is to trade it, and I was wondering if you would be willing to trade Boldor temporarily with me to help me with this. Well, sure, Ash responds, but why specifically Boldor? Max explains that the rock type can evolve the same way, so he could be helping Ash out too. This is where Ash drops a bombshell that could dampen the boy's plans, as our hero explains that it's not his choice, it's Boldor's choice. I would never force it to evolve if it didn't want to. Oh, Max says in disappointment. But why don't we ask it? Ash responds. Kneeling down to his Mon, Ash lays out the question on if it would like to evolve. Max is asking for their help, and in return, it can make Boldor stronger. The rock type is silent for what seems like an eternity, causing Ash to say forget it. The question was a stupid one, but Boldor disagrees, bouncing joyfully at the thought of it being able to evolve. Well, I guess you have your answer, Ash says. Max gets excited, hugging both Boldor and Graveler as he proclaims that he can finally help it evolve. Watching, Ghost smiles, knowing that this is the Ash that he has come to respect, someone willing to do anything to help out a friend. Moments later, we find our heroes at the trading machine in the corner of the center. Placing the balls in the holders, the transfer begins. Though this process is only seconds, for Max it feels like forever, but the balls are eventually ejected from the machine, only for the two to repeat the process one more time. A few moments later, the task is done. Both Ash and Max send out their newly evolved rock types, to which Max and Golem celebrate this achievement. Yeah, nothing will stop us, right Golem? The boy questions. Ash looks at his new Gigalith. Though it is now much more larger and a bit more stoic than it was as a boulder, Ash knows it is excited to see what it can do. But that's not what Ash has in mind right now, merely thanking it for helping out one of his friends. The rock type simply watches the boys celebrate, happy to have been able to make Ash happy. To this, Ash asks Max if he and Golem would like to have a battle with him and Gigalith, so they can see what the new evolutions can do. Max jumps at this offer and they all head outside. On the battlefield, they stand across from each other ready to start. Preparing to make their first calls, they are met with a violent shaking of the earth as Mount Chimney above them begins to spew magma from its mouth. Then a beeping goes off in Max's bag that Go notices. Opening it, the boy signals for the guys to come over. I think we have a problem. Rushing to Go's side, they see the tracker that Lund had given them. It's going haywire, which means only one thing, Groudon must be nearby. They are not far from Farina either. It's only a few days walk at this point. As the shaking intensifies, Ash and Max both agree that their battle will have to wait, as this is much more important. Grabbing their bags, our heroes set off in a rushed pace. We now move forward a couple of days as the boys stand on the borders that Ash and Max thought they would never return to, Farina. The journey hasn't been an easy one as the ground violently shakes at random times, but on the way here, Ash and Max feel to go in on everything that they went through with Jirachi, the troubles that they had faced and the people that caused it, and eventually how they chose to protect the land of Farina from anyone that would come looking for Jirachi. As they proceed into the valley, Go asks if they can trust these people as they walk past the ruins of some sort of machine that appears to be in some sort of battle. Ash reassures him that they can, as slight tremors can be felt in the not too far off distance. The group spends a while trekking around the massive nature preserve looking for any signs of people, but to the surprise of Ash and Max, there is nothing. They would have thought that they would have at least seen something by now. Maybe they moved on, Go says, thinking it would be the best way to protect Jirachi. However, Max says that they would never abandon Jirachi like that, not after what they went through. Go wants to say something else, but is interrupted by the call of something in the distance. This sends a shiver down all of their spines. Whatever it is, sounds hungry, Go says. Yeah, and very big, Max seconds. Stay close, Ash responds. There is something headed for us, as he points to the sky. Above them, a looming shadow speeds towards them with their backs to the sun. An ear-piercing cry rings throughout the area. The team readies their Pokeballs just in case they have to fight off whatever predators enter their personal space. A gust of wind bursts from the flaps of a mighty wingbeat. Above them, a dragon hovers with a man on its back. Whoever you are, you must leave, the man says, only for a voice that he knows all too well to ask, Butler, is that you? This gets the man's attention as he actually looks at the intruders on his land. Max, Ash, is that you? The one and the same, Ash responds, and this is Go, our friend. Realizing there's no real threat here, Butlers tell Salamence to stand down. The old friends begin to catch up and introduce Go. Butler asks what brings them to Farina, but that changes the mood to one of urgency as trembling can be felt in the ground. That, Ash says, have there been any issues with Jirachi? A serious look comes across Butler's face. Follow me. As Salamence circles from the air with an old friend, the Flygon that Ash had met the last time they were here, Butler begins to inform the group about what has been happening since the last time they were here. For the first few years, things were quiet, only the occasional person coming into the valley looking for adventure, but we were able to deal with them and keep the natural state of things safe. Then, a little over 2 years ago, something happened. From the cave where me and Diane found Jirachi, an energy surge happened, so we decided to investigate. What we found was the crystal had resurfaced of its own will and began to slowly pulsate, but it was so infrequent that we could only monitor its actions. But about 6 months ago, the energy that it was giving off began to speed up. Slowly, instead of once every couple of months, it became a few times a week, then every day. This is where the group gets to the home of Diane and Butler, to which the blonde mother-like figure comes out at the behest of Butler to greet the boys. She's excited to see someone other than him for once that isn't trying to cause harm to Farina. Diane questions why Ash and Max have returned, to which Butler states they are here because of what's been happening. Oh, Diane responds, with a sad look. This way, she points, as the couple lead our heroes into a nearby cave. This is where the two circling dragons land to stand guard for anyone who may attack. The group descends into the bowels of the abyss. As they go deeper, the tremors begin to grow in power, to which Max questions if that is what he thinks it is. No, Go says, that's different than what we've felt in Verdanturf. It's coming from inside the cave, as they turn a corner to see what the cause is. A purple crystal that hovers just above the ground and is pulsating with energy at a rapid succession. Jirachi, Max says. So why have you guys come here? Butler inquires. Ash goes on to explain the reason. They believe Groudon is coming for Jirachi, or more so, the energy that it has from the Millennium Comet. Why would Groudon be after that? The two question. Ash goes on to explain about the stone that surfaced here in Hoenn a few years back, and it had the power to revert both it and Kyogre into a more ancient form than the ones that we are familiar with. According to a researcher friend of ours, Dr. Lund, the energy from the stone is the same kind that is coming from Farina. There is only one thing here that could be giving it off, to which both Butler and Diane say Jirachi's name in tandem. That's right, the name Lund sounds familiar, Butler says. Isn't he the same one from LaRousse City? He is, Ash confirms. Butler goes on to explain that in his time with Team Magma, Maxie was monitoring Lund for his work, as there were legends that he had deciphered from a cave in Dewford Island that talked about a more primal version of the two legendaries, but it was eventually given up on when he couldn't prove it. However, I always thought his findings held weight in the scientific fact, so if he thinks this is what's happening, then... However, Butler is interrupted by a violent shaking that rocks the cave and causes the crystal to pulsate even harder. Then, the tracker starts beeping harder than it ever has before. We're too late, Ash says. Groudon is here. Knowing they will need to do what they can to keep Jirachi safe, they come up with a plan for Butler and the boys to run defense so that Diane can use Flygon to get Jirachi out of here. However, they are going to need some muscle, so once they are outside, the group sends out everything they have. Ash, Max, and Go will distract Groudon so Butler can help Diane secure the crystal to Flygon, then he will join them. The group then separates as Go takes point flying ahead on Dragonite. Ash and Max take off on foot, telling each other Pokemon to spread out and keep Groudon's attention divided. While the theory of this plan is good, there is one major flaw in it, and that is exploited when the ground beneath the feet of everyone begins to heat up slowly, turning the valley into a bubbling cauldron of magma as Groudon emerges at the center. This throws everything off, as its arrival sends magma spewing into the air, forcing everyone to avoid getting hit. However, that's not the worst of it, as the cave that Jirachi was in is now beginning to fill with the blistering hot fluid, and their dragons are unable to help. Seeing this, Ash has an idea. After the magma stops flying and he is able to call out to Max and Go, it is put into action. Ash is going to take Gigalith and Golem into the magma to rescue Butler and Diane. He needs Max and Go to run interference, keep Groudon preoccupied and the attention away from the cave. Ash then tells Haunter and Talonflame to aid Go, while Palpitoad and Gliscor are to help Max. With the plan now in action, things have to move fast, as the chamber is filling rapidly. Ash takes one last look at his friends, silently wishing them luck as he and the two rock types descend into the lava. As the heat from the magma grows more intense, Max and Go engage with Groudon, first trying to talk some sense into the behemoth. However, each attempt is met with a growl followed by a swipe of its massive claws. It's clear at this point that they are going to have no words that will be able to to resolve Groudon's rage. So all of the Pokemon begin to attack from multiple angles to draw the attention and confuse their target. However, the sheer size of Groudon and the power it possesses makes this task next to impossible, even for the more formidable battlers of the group. At most, they are an annoyance that Groudon makes quick work of using an earth power to ravage everyone that is attacking it from the ground. This forces the likes of Max and Slaking and the others to do their best to find cover and protection from the enraged earth. This just leaves those pesky airborne attackers, which quickly get the wrath of multiple fire blasts that burst through the air, attempting to end the assaults. However, this does little thanks to the speed of Gliscor, Dragonite, Haunter, and Talonflame. A bit frustrated that it was unable to stop any of them, Groudon resorts to more direct methods, picking up boulders with its massive tail and claws and hurling them into the air. Everyone is able to dodge for the most part, with Gliscor and Haunter having a bit of trouble. Go tells everyone to be careful and make sure Max and his Pokemon are alright as well. However, Groudon's frustration is building and it wants to end this, so it uses another earth power. However, the legendary uses far more power than previously, causing the giant stone pillars that make up the contents of the valley to begin to jump and contract as the earth constricts the floor below them. This forces Dragonite into an awkward position when one comes crashing down and it has to speed up rapidly to avoid it. However, this comes at a cost as Go is thrown off of its back. Now falling to certain doom, Go can do nothing but panic. That is, until he stops in midair. Looking up, Go realizes that Haunter caught him by his bag. However, they can't stay as another one of those pillars is coming down. Haunter begins to slowly move away so Dragonite can take over, but Groudon is on their tail and forces some evasive action. This causes Go's bag to start to open at the zipper. With some clever flying, Dragonite is able to reach its trainer just as Go's bag begins to give way. While the boy is saved, the contents of the bag are not. All of the items begin to fall toward the lava. While most of these things can be replaced, there is one thing that can't. The box with the map that's been wrapped in the cable. It's falling, and there isn't enough time for Dragonite to save it. Go can do nothing, as his only lead to Mew is about to become cinders. That is, until Haunter appears underneath the falling debris. The ghost spits out its large tongue, only to swallow all of Go's stuff. Go has a moment of relief, only for a pillar to come crashing down on Haunter as it sinks into the lava, with Go screaming its name in the process. Down in the cave with Ash, he is moving through the pool of lava at a steady pace with Golem and Gigalith. Luckily, the rock types have a very high threshold for the heat of the molten rock. However, the trio needs to pick up the speed as the cries of panic from Butler and Diane are echoing through the cave. Knowing they are on borrowed time, Ash needs to come up with a solution quickly. Luckily, both of these Pokemon are able to help, as Ash orders a rollout, flash cannon, and an Iron Tail that breaks through the wall into the main chamber of the cave. What Ash finds is Diane and Butler standing on a platform that is slowly losing surface area. Ordering the two monoliths through the magma, Ash reaches the two just in time. The lava has consumed most of the base. Diane is the first to jump on the back of Golem, with Butler slowly handing over the crystal that houses Jirachi. However, just as Diane reaches out for the crystal, a violent tremor begins to shake the cavern. Both her and Butler juggle the mass, attempting to save it from the fate that has befallen it. However, there is no saving it, as everyone watches the crystal fall into the magma. Butler tells Ash that they have to save it, just send one of the Pokemon. However, this just isn't true. The chamber is filled with lava, making it dangerous for anyone to stay here. Diane has to yell at Butler to come to his senses. Jirachi is lost. If they don't leave, then they will be too. Reluctantly, Butler accepts that there is no other option, as Ash orders Gigalith and Golem to hurry as they try to escape the crumbling tomb. Back outside, Go is stunned into silence. Haunter is gone, all because he wanted to save Go's items. It really knew how much that box meant to Go. However, there will be little time for mourning, as Groudon is on the attack once again. But this time, his bursts of energy seem to be far more powerful. Then, something begins to happen. The ancient behemoth begins to swell with energy as it moves across the valley. In doing so, it seems to be phasing in and out of some sort of other form that Go had only seen in one other place, the lab of Professor Lund, when he was talking about the stone that caused them to rampage a few years before. But this is the least of his worries, as the heat around Groudon is becoming too much to bear for the other Pokemon, forcing them to distance themselves. Luckily, Max is able to find refuge on a high enough cliff safe from the reach of Groudon. The boy can do nothing but look over the land of Farina and shed a slight tear for the sight of destruction. That's when something familiar catches his eye. In the direct path of Groudon is traveling, something begins to rise up out of the magma. Struggling to see what it is, both Max and Go focus on it only to realize that it is the crystal that holds Jirachi. It's still pulsating, and it seems to be at the same rate as Groudon. The legendary has its sights set on the crystal. Then, the crystal begins to glow in a purple light that Groudon starts to absorb. This causes it to revert to the primal form that Lund had talked about as it swells with greater power. Max and Go frantically try their best to fight through the heat and get through to the crystal. Even Rabbit has set aside its moody nature in realization of how dangerous the situation has become. But even with the help of it and Dragonite, Go is still unable to reach the area by air. This is where things go from bad to worse as the crystal begins to crack as the glowing subsides and an explosion is let off to reveal Jirachi. Though it appears to be awake, it is unresponsive when the one person who it should acknowledge, Max, calls to it, only to get nothing. It appears as if the mythical is entranced by Groudon as it nears and the energy that is being absorbed is nearly depleted from Jirachi. This is where Ash and the rest emerge from the cave, only to catch the tail end of what's happening. Groudon completes the draining of the mythical, taking on its true form, while Jirachi falls onto a small patch of earth yet to be submerged by the magma. Everyone begins to panic, especially Max. They can't leave it there, or Jirachi will die. As the only one with a clear head, Ash sets things into action, calling for Gliscor and Talonflame. Ash tells them that they have to draw the attention of Groudon away. It's the only way that he can get to Jirachi. In order to help with this, Ash enlists both Salamence and Flygon, as their power will be greatly needed. The plan is set into action. With Groudon now at full power, it is reveling in its success, the chance to finally best its eternal rival in combat. However, its brief moment of celebration is interrupted by the attacks that Ash has set on it. This draws the rage of the beast, forcing Groudon to move slightly away from the area that Jirachi is in. Ash is able to capitalize on this by making his way to the Psychic type on the back of Gigalith. Ash grabs Jirachi just as the small piece of land is swallowed by the magma. Luckily, Go is able to make his way to Ash, and with the help of Dragonite, they are able to make their way to a safe location for the moment so that everyone can regroup. At this second, a well of emotions begin to collectively spill out as Jirachi lay unresponsive in Max's arms. Despite the best efforts of everyone, Butler is forced to be the bearer of bad news. Jirachi's biology is like a battery. It stores energy that it absorbs from the Millennium Comet, and it feeds on some of it over the 1,000 years it is supposed to slumber in the valley. But Groudon drained it of everything in order to take this form. Without a way to recharge it, Jirachi's body is slowly shutting down and will no longer be able to support itself. With this statement, everyone begins to lose their control as they spiral into a sadness that shouldn't be known. A river of tears is wept for the mythical. It is at this moment that the egg in Ash's bag slowly begins to give off an aura that starts to build, but he doesn't feel it, asking a question in this tense moment. Butler, that machine, the one that you used before to drain Jirachi, do you think it could do it again, but this time on Groudon? I don't know, he says. It's been years since I've even tried to turn it on. The chance that it could still perform that function is very low, and even if we could get it working, I would need time to get it up and running. Then we would need someone to draw Groudon, in which, if you look, wouldn't be that easy. This is where we pan out to see the only Pokemon left is just the 2 dragons. All others have been knocked out of the sky. Then the worst possibility happens as Groudon has turned its attention back to the humans that have been such an annoyance to it. Without warning, a fire blast is sent their way. If anything isn't done, then no one will be leaving here alive. Luckily, hope appears in the form of some unlikely allies, as 2 Mega Evolved Pokemon intercept the blast, sending it skybound. These 2 Pokemon are very familiar to Ash, as a voice can be heard calling our hero's name. Turning, another Salamence comes flying in, and on its back are some reinforcements. It's the Hoenn region champion and his disciple, Steven Stone and Sawyer. As the dragon lands, Ash asks what they are doing here, to which Steven responds that Dr. Lund contacted them when he detected the spike in Groudon's energy. So we got here as fast as we could. Looking at Jirachi, Steven can tell that things are not going too well, to which Ash agrees. Sawyer inquires if they have a way to stop Groudon. Butler responds they may, telling them about the machine that is in the valley. If they can get to it, then there may be a chance that they can drain Groudon of its energy. What do you need from us? Sawyer asks. We need you to be a distraction long enough to find out if we can get it to even work. Steven and Sawyer both agree to this, and not a moment too soon, as Groudon is making its way in their direction, firing another fire blast. The plan is a simple one. Go and Max will get Jirachi, Butler, and Diane to the machine. Ash, Sawyer, and Steven will run defense to buy time. As everyone breaks, Go tries to tell Ash about what happened to Haunter and how it got caught under a falling pillar, but he only gets as far as mentioning the ghost type's name before Ash tells Go that Haunter can take care of itself. In this moment, Go realizes that it would do more harm than good to mention anything. so he elects to remain quiet for now. With the plan in place, everyone breaks with Steven and Sawyer running point, while Ash remains a second line of defense. While those two are on point, Ash makes his way around the surrounding area with Gigalith and Pikachu. They run defense as he finds all the Pokemon that were injured in the battle with Groudon. Ash eventually is able to recall all of them, including Salamence and Flygon, thanks to Diane and Butler giving him their Pokeballs. However, there is one that Ash is unable to find, and that's Haunter. The ghost type has a habit for disappearing, but not in a calamity like this. However, it's strange. Haunter would normally come after it's been called long enough. This has the boy a bit worried, but Ash is unable to give that much thought. Groudon has broken through the defense that was created as he is staring down the receiving end of a fire blast. Luckily, a flash cannon and a thunderbolt is enough to divert it, just enough for Ash to watch as Groudon walks by, the ground shaking beneath each step. Over at the ruins of Butler's machine, the former Team Magmar scientist does his best to reactivate it. However, it's dead in the water. The damage it took in the last battle was too great, and reversing the energy the last time overloaded the entire system. There's no way they can do anything to save Jirachi or stop Groudon. Go looks out, seeing Ash, Steven, and Sawyer doing their best to hold off the legendary. They haven't given up yet, so we can't either. Try to find another way. Max, you stay here and keep them protected. I'm going to help them. Go then mounts Dragonite and takes off. With the speed of the dragon, he is able to arrive just in the nick of time to save Ash and Pikachu from being fried as Gigalith has finally fallen to an earth power that it took, blocking its trainer. Go is able to scoop up Ash on a flyby as he recalls the rock type. This is where he fills Ash in on what's going on. The machine is dead, so he's gonna have to help to buy time so Butler can come up with another solution. This is where Ash wonders about Haunter. He was able to find the other Pokemon, but there has been no sign of the ghost type. At this statement, Go gets quiet, so much so that Ash notices and realizes there's something that he is not being told. What happened to Haunter? Ash questions in a demanding voice. At first, Go only says that Dragonite needs to focus. They will talk about this later, but the action only furthers Ash's suspicion, causing him to grab Go by the shoulder, making the same demand as before. This intense emotion from Ash is causing the egg in his bag to begin glowing brighter. It's reacting to Ash's anger, and it's starting to build. Pikachu sees this, but is unsure if it should interrupt right now due to the situation. Again, Ash asks the question, but this time follows it with a fist to the chest of Go. This causes silence to befall the area. It's like everything else had stood still. Haunter gave its life to save me, Go says in a very sad tone. What? Ash responds, not sure if what he heard was right, but Go just says the same thing. Haunter was trying to save me, but in doing so, it was crushed by a falling pillar. In this moment, something in Ash breaks. Up until now, he was the one who had tried to remain strong after what's happened to Jirachi, but one of his own Pokemon losing their life isn't something that Ash can handle. This is shown when Dragonite is forced to take a sharp turn to avoid an attack from Groudon, and Ash slides off the dragon's back as he had lost all feeling in his body, weakening his grip. As the boy falls, the only thing he can see is black. It's like nothing else is here. Ash does nothing to try and save himself. Luckily, Steven and Metagross were able to see the boy in time and save him. They land on a small patch of earth at the foot of the machine where Butler and the others join him. He informs them that there is truly nothing he can do with the machine. Their last hope is gone. Groudon is making its way to their location, firing off fire blasts and earth powers at the humans. Steven and Sawyer begin to discuss their options, as if they can't stop Groudon, then they may need to consider a more drastic option, the evacuation of the whole region. The group discusses this as Go and Pikachu sit with Ash. They are trying to get any type of response from him, but it's like he's in a catatonic state. From Ash's perspective, everything is black. He can hear the words of everyone, but to him, they make no sense. The shock of Jirachi and Haunter has set in, and sadness is beginning to overcome the boy. As this is happening, the egg in Ash's bag is now glowing too bright to be contained, but something happens. The Deoxys stone that lay beside it has started to react. The aura from the egg is having an effect on it. However, in this exact moment, in Ash's mindscape, the egg and the stone appear to the boy, like they are speaking to him. Ash is unable to make it out at first, but as he asks repeatedly what they are trying to tell him, the message gets louder and louder. From the outside, everyone is fixated on Ash while Groudon closes in. His bag has begun to levitate while still on the boy's back. It tugs at our hero, like something is starting to escape. Go and Pikachu are unsure of what to do here, but just as they begin to reach out for the boy, Ash snaps back to his current state. It's at this moment everybody realizes they have made a grave error. They were so fixated on Ash that they temporarily forgot about Groudon, not realizing it had gotten close enough for the magma to begin to take the small patch of land that they were on. In this moment, the legendary uses an earth power to finally finally deal with these annoying humans. The ground below everyone heats up. A blast of energy swells beneath their feet as Ash opens his bag and the egg goes dormant once again while he reaches for the stone. As the eruption of the magma blows skybound, the stone is able to create a protective barrier around the group. Looking at this, Groudon assumes its work is done and the threat of its power being stolen is now dealt with, so it turns to leave. However, the behemoth stops when it feels a presence. Looking back, it sees the humans standing there as the stone glows brightly in Ash's hand. However, this isn't the only thing that has the attention of everyone, as a very deep cackle can be heard from the hole where the magma came through only moments earlier. Haunter, Ash yells? However, that's not what pops from the opening. It's the final stage of the ghost line. A Gengar. Ash is happy to see it, but wonder how it evolved. But that question will have to wait, as Groudon has sent another Fire Blast their way, but the stone reacts to the energy that it feels and absorbs the attack. This makes Groudon visibly angered, as it begins to influence the surrounding rocks and magma. As the earth beneath their feet begins to tremble, the stone begins to react. Then, something only Max and Ash have seen happens. The stone begins to take on form as something materializes from it. In a brief second, the mythical Deoxys levitates before the humans. This causes Groudon to become enraged as it begins to attack the psychic type. However, Deoxys is able to take on its defense form and block the attack. Then, it shifts once more, taking on the speed form as it chooses to engage with Groudon, drawing its attention away from the humans. It's here that Steven asks what is going on. Ash explains that he's not really sure himself. It was like he was in a trance. Then, the stone of Deoxys appeared glowing. Then I snapped too. It was like the stone was telling me to use it to defend us. Oh, I get it, Sawyer says. Deoxys wanted to save us, so it reached out to Ash. I don't think it's quite that simple, Steven replies. I've had a chance to study some Deoxys stones over the last couple of years. All of them have had their energy drained, but I always theorized that if they could be exposed to a large amount of energy, then they may be able to be revived. It looks like Deoxys felt Groudon and knew this was its chance to be revived. But the question is, what energy gave it the juice to reactivate in the first place? I don't know, Ash says, but it's our best chance to stop Groudon and save Jirachi. There was a voice when the stone appeared. It told me that Jirachi could be saved if enough energy was drained from Groudon. Who said that, Ash? Mash questions, but the boy doesn't know. The only thing that they can do is put their faith in Deoxys, as all of their other efforts have been in vain. The group watches as the two titans do battle on a level that Earth has not seen in millions of years, but slowly, with each physical strike, Groudon is starting to weaken. With each contact, the alien virus drains it of the stolen energy until Deoxys reaches a point that it can overpower Groudon, pinning it to the valley floor with its psychic energy. In this moment, that transformation Groudon took fades as it begins to scream in pain. Then, things become clear. Deoxys doesn't just intend to take the energy back, it's going to keep siphoning it off until Groudon is just as dry as Jirachi. Realizing he will have to step in, Ash turns to his newly evolved ghost-type Gengar. Are you ready to battle? With a cackle, Gengar nods as it takes off with Ash and Go in pursuit on the back of Dragonite. Making their way to the site of the battle, Gengar, Pikachu, and Dragonite engage with the support of both Mega Metagross and Sceptile. The five Mons do what they can to break the hold Deoxys has on Groudon, with only Gengar and Metagross being the only ones able to cause any type of damage. Luckily, this is enough to save the now unconscious legendary, with the Psychic type breaking its hold in order to attack. However, Ash yells for it to stop. It needs to remember who he is. Looking the boy over, then scanning him with his chest core, Deoxys' memories of the moment they shared before it materialized slowly comes back. Please, Ash says, there needs to be no more fighting. It has to stop. Acknowledging the wishes of the boy, Deoxys takes its less aggressive, normal form. It then looks to the sky. Its home is out there, among the stars, and it now has the energy to reach it. But Ash's voice captures the attention of Deoxys again. You can't leave, he yells. Remember, you have one more thing to do. The memories resurface for the Psychic type as it and Ash share a moment back in the mindscape once more. You promised, Ash's voice echoes. Breaking the mental link with Ash, Deoxys flies over to Max, who is still clutching Jirachi tightly. The Virusmon reaches out for the mythical, only for Max to attack it, saying he won't let it drain Jirachi as well. But Ash yells for him to stop. Put Jirachi on the ground. Max gives Ash, then Deoxys, a look of caution, but does as he's told. As Max stands back, the group witnesses a miracle. Deoxys begins to share its energy with Jirachi. Slowly, the color returns to the mythical. However, the energy transfer it needs is massive and takes time. The sun begins to rise as the transfer is complete, and Deoxys drops from exhaustion. Max rushes to Jirachi's side, pleading with it to open its eyes. Slowly, the mythical begins to stir, as its eyes open, with the first thing coming into view view being Max, with tears in his eyes. Ash then approaches Deoxys, telling it, "Thank you. I know that it came at a great personal cost to you." However, the psychic type says nothing, merely levitating before taking off over the horizon. "What was that about?" Go asks. Ash responds that Deoxys wanted to go home. "When it talked with me, it told me that it just wanted to go home, but it needs energy to reform itself. I told it that if I gave it what it needed to do that, then I would need a favor in return, which was to save Jirachi. Though it came at great personal cost to Deoxys, now it doesn't have the energy to leave Earth. It's stuck here on the planet till it can collect enough energy and heal from the transfer. It's here that a bright light begins to shine from Max's arms. Jirachi is recrystallizing to conserve what energy it has left, as the Millennium Comet won't be back for a very long time." The mythical then levitates from Ash's arms and lowers itself into the drying magma to continue its 1,000-year slumber. This moment is one of both sadness and joy, as everyone is glad that they were able to save it. That is until the ground starts to shake beneath their feet. Groudon has begun to stir, causing everyone to tense up. As the Goliath begins to struggle to its feet, everyone takes a defensive stance, Ash telling both Pikachu and Gengar to be ready. However, Groudon pays the humans no mind, simply fading into the mists of the cooling magma. As it vanishes, a cry is let out, as if to say its pride is hurt, but this may not be the last time they see of it. Finally, everyone can breathe a sigh of relief. Go approaches Ash, asking if he's okay, to which the answer is a very firm yes. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about Haunter at first. I didn't want you to worry when everything was happening." Ash tells Go he understands, and not to worry. Everything worked out. "Well, not everything," Go says. "The map and the box were lost when Haunter saved me. It was burnt up in the lava." Ash sees that Go is sad about losing his only lead to Mew, but Gengar's stomach begins to rumble before upchugging the box that contains the map, among other things. A wave of happiness washes over Go as he thanks the ghost type. Go grabs the box, only to notice that the cable he used to bind it is missing. Go wants to ask Gengar about it, but then Ash's phone rings. As our hero answers it, Professor Lund asks if everything is okay. Ash responds that things have finally settled down, but they could all use a few days rest after today. "Unfortunately, that's gonna have to wait," Lund says. "They have another problem." Now we fade over to the eastern coast of Hoenn, as we see a very familiar girl step foot in her home region for the first time in over a year. As May looks out over the ocean, she breathes in deep, happy to be home. But as she turns, May suddenly stops, as a voice she thought she would never hear again echoes in her head. And this is where we are going to leave things for now. So tell me, what did you think of this part? Did you enjoy the coronation battles Ash had? How do you feel about the evolutions Ash got onto his roster and how they were achieved? What is the problem that faces our heroes next, and what does it have to do with May? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's all we had for today's video. I really appreciate you guys stopping by to watch all the way to the end, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. If you guys really enjoy my content, consider following me on some of my other platforms like Discord, where you can get to know other people who are interested in what ifs, or on Twitter, where I post sometimes behind the scenes updates. Or if you want to help the channel grow a little bit extra, why don't you consider donating like the people right here have, as whatever you could offer could help us get to a larger audience by helping us get new videos done, or some of the projects that we've been more custom art is getting kind of expensive. So we want to make sure that we have the funds to do that. But with all that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I will see you in the next video.